Let's take a look at the headlines. President Tinubu approves initiative to provide 5 million eyeglasses to Nigerians with sight impediments. Federal government has set up negotiation team on hike in school fees. Plus, NASA sports new moon crater likely caused by crashed Russian probe. The details of these stories and more in a moment. First in the news tonight is a report that partnership between the Federal Health Program and the Peak Vision Foundation to provide more than 5 million pairs of eyeglasses to Nigerians with sight impairments. The president recounted how close to home his first intervention in eye health was, as he made a pledge on behalf of the federal government during a courtesy visit by the founder and CEO of Peak Vision Foundation and co-founder of the Vision Catalyst Fund, Professor Andrew Bastauras. Highlighting the pressing need for improved eye health services in Nigeria, President Tinubu expressed concern about the more than 24 million Nigerians grappling with varying degrees of vision impairments. Professor Bastauras expressed his commitment to the cause and shared his personal story and the transformative power of vision. Professor Bastauras noted that eye care is still chronically under-resourced in many countries, adding that the estimates in Nigeria show that 0.002% spent on eye health. The coordinating of health and social welfare, Professor Ali Pate, was joined by the coordinator of the National Eye Health Program, Dr. Terry Okolo, and the Director of Public Health, Dr. Chukwuma Anyaike, as he presented a national policy document on eye health to the President.
He will be meeting with His Excellency, Mr. President, will be meeting with the President of Brazil, President da Silva.
Meanwhile, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is set to engage world leaders and the international business community towards attracting foreign direct investment to Nigeria at the forthcoming G20 summit in India. Briefing State House correspondents on the focus of the summit, the special advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ngelale, said President Bola Tinubu will join other world leaders from September 9 through 12. The will heads of state summit.
We'll be meeting with the President of Brazil, President da Silva. He will be meeting with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. He will be meeting with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He will be meeting with the South Korean President Yeol, and a few other heads of state on the sidelines of the G20. Of course, as is the custom, Mr. President will also be meeting with the Nigerian community in India, and he will also, of course, provide a set of remarks to the entire summit involving, of course, all heads of state present and many other industry and business leaders from around the world.
The President will also meet chief executive officers of major manufacturing companies of Indian origin, particularly in the areas of electricity generation and distribution and other critical sectors, to drive key investments into the country to aid infrastructural renewal.
end, His Excellency, Mr. President, will be meeting with a cross-section of heads of state, as well as industrial leaders, titans, chief executive officers of some of the world's most valuable companies, particularly those of Indian origin. His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will be hosting a CEO roundtable, which will be made up of more than 20 chief executive officers of major industries across multiple sectors of the Indian economy, to ensure that we leverage on their interest in investing in the country in such a way that suits the industrialization initiative of the Renewed Hope agenda of Mr. President.
As usual, the special advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Galali, will give day-to-day update on President Tinubu's features at the G20 summit in India for Nigerians to know details of his activities while there. Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has emphasized his support for a robust public-private sector partnership to grow the economy, saying his administration's sustained, bold and coordinated reforms are anchored on a strong adherence to accountability and transparency. Speaking at an audience with members of the board and management of the Nigeria Economic Support Group, NESG, at the State House, Abuja, the president reiterated his unequivocal resolve to fully implement the 8 priority reform areas under the Renewed Hope agenda within the next 3 years.
Looking backwards is retrogressive for any reformer. Looking forward can give you on the lips that will propel you in right direction. We need think tanks on agriculture. I don't see why Nigeria will be so blessed with greenery and good soil.
Also speaking, the chairman of NESG, Olaniyi Yusuf, welcomed the economic reforms announced by the Tinubu administration, specifically with respect to fuel subsidy removal, foreign exchange rate harmonization, food security and palliatives to sub-national governments. He pledged that the NESG would work with the newly inaugurated cabinet to achieve the 8-point agenda of the administration.
Yeah, and waiting. And we are glad again that the FEC, the Executive Cabinet, has now been inaugurated. We'll be working with quite a number of our colleagues in the ministries to push some of your reforms agenda along the 8-point agenda, which in our view speaks to the critical issues affecting us as a nation, from insecurity to economic growth to job creation, and of course to an enabling environment for the private sector. And
key metric that is required for private sector investment is macroeconomic stability. Of course, it includes security in macroeconomic stability. And you have already, as was recognized by the chairman, you have already set this country on the path towards that stability by what you have done in correcting the distortions on the fiscal side. You've reduced the huge leakage that was preventing government revenue to be anywhere near what is required.
The chairman also used the occasion to formally request the president to declare open the NESG summit in October, as well as to direct heads of ministries, departments and agencies, MDAs, to partner with them and participate fully at the summit as part of efforts to ramp up local and foreign direct investments in Nigeria. In the meantime, President Tinubu has suggested that 9 months is enough for the Niger military junta to return the country to civilian after seizing power from President Mohamed Bazoum on July 26. Tinubu said this when he received the Nigeria Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs led by the Sultan of Sokoto, His Eminence Muhammad Saad Abubakar III at the State House. According to the Nigerian leader, if Nigeria could successfully return to democracy in 1999 through a 9-month program by General Abdul Salami Abubakar, there was no reason such could not be replicated by Niger coup leaders. In a statement by his spokesperson, Najuri Ngelale, the ECOWAS chief said sanctions imposed on Niger Republic will not be lifted without positive adjustments by the military junta. Away from that, now the federal government has said it is planning to decentralize the fire service emergency response system. This is to improve the response time to emergencies in the country. The Minister of Interior, Bunmi Tunji-Ojo, who has been inspecting the facilities of various paramilitary organizations under his watch since Wednesday, said this to journalists in his office today. He said the federal government was planning to have firefighting trucks stationed at every economic zone in the country. According to him, the plan would help reduce billions of naira lost to fire disasters in the country. Meanwhile, the federal government says it will set up a formal negotiation team between the Parent-Teacher Association (PTA) and relevant stakeholders to look into the recent hike in fees in schools across the country. The Minister of State for Education, Dr. Yusuf Sununu, made this known at a news conference to herald the commemoration of the International Day to Protect Education from Attack in Abuja today. Sununu said that the hike in school fees could be a core factor leading to attacks in schools, hence the need to look into the area to avert further attacks. Elsewhere, to stabilize the economy of the country, federal government says it's ready to increase tax revenue. This, they say, will not be by increasing taxes on Nigerians, but will be derived through direct profit made through businesses. Minister of Finance and Economy Wale Dun disclosed this while addressing journalists on his vision and perspectives on the state of the nation's economy at the ministry headquarters in Abuja today. Edun said federal government is also ready to encourage investment that will activities, economy growth, as well as to create job opportunities. He emphasized on the need to facilitate and allow private funding such as direct foreign investment, domestic investment by Nigerians, and private investment to increase revenue generation for the nation.
In terms of how to get to where Mr. President is going to take us, the key is to increase revenues so that government has enough funding to carry out its obligations and to stabilize the economy as a whole. On the one hand, it is by increasing tax revenue, not by increasing taxes necessarily, but by bringing greater efficiency. We have with us the chairman of the Tax Reform Committee, and the aim is to bring greater efficiency, to cut leakages, and to maximize the legitimate revenue that should come to government. In terms of how to get to where Mr. President...
So the answer is yes. So incentives in and of themselves are not bad. But you would also agree with me that as time changes, you need to always review what you have done for years. We have some incentives, for example, that were introduced for reconstruction of the country after the Civil War. That was so many years ago, and we still have it in the law until recently, less than 1 year ago. When you don't look at your incentives regime, it can get to a point where it becomes a distortion for economic growth, because some people benefit, others don't, and they operate in the same sector, so they cannot compete. You also have to think about it from the point of...
In another development, the Minister of Transportation, Saidu Ahmed Al-Khali, has assured the Kaduna State government of the ministry's support of his commitment to embark on provision of Metropolitan Rail Mass Transit Scheme. The move, according to him, would help alleviate transportation challenges occasioned by the fuel subsidy removal. In a statement signed by the Special Advisor on Media to the Minister of Transport, stated that the disclosure was made during a courtesy visit by a powerful 8-man delegation from the Kaduna State government to the ministry in Abuja. The minister said that the ingenuity of the Kaduna State Governor Uba Sani to place primacy on viable means of transportation should be commended and given the necessary support it deserves. From the Green Chambers now, where the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has denounced the abuse of tax incentives and waivers. The Speaker also noted that those involved in tax waiver abuse acts are engaging in economic sabotage that must be stopped. Abbas made this known during the inauguration of the ad hoc committee tasked with investigating allegations of tax incentive abuse, tax breaks and tax waivers by public institutions and companies benefiting from such incentives. The Speaker, represented by the Leader of the House, Julius Ihonvbere, conveyed that the House's investigation aimed to curtail the economic sabotage and ensure transparency, accountability and fairness within the tax system. In education, the Committee of Vice Chancellors of federal universities in the country today denied allegations of offering bribes to members of the House of Representatives ad hoc committee investigating job racketeering in federal agencies to obtain favor. The Vice Chancellors said, rather, they are eagerly awaiting the conclusion of the work of the committee, saying that they have confidence that it would help them address the issue of manpower shortage in the universities. Professor Ishaya Tanko, the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Jos, who spoke on behalf of the Vice-Chancellors when they appeared before the committee, said the universities were suffering from a serious manpower shortage and are not able to replace experienced staff and professors who are daily exiting the system. In another development, the Nigerian Bar Association (NBA) has clarified the controversy that trailed the performance of a popular street singer Habib Okikiola with the stage name Portable at its concert in Abuja on Thursday. Speaking on the issues, the National Publicity Secretary of the NBA, Akorede Lawal, said the association was not responsible for the invitation of Portable. Neither did they pay for his appearance at the event, which took place at the Velodrome of the MKO Abiola Stadium, Abuja. Lawal, who said NBA's headline sponsor Cubana Group was the one who brought Portable, however, expressed gratitude to them, saying NBA did not pay a dime for the performance of Portable. On labour matters, the Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) has declared a 2-day warning strike beginning on Tuesday, September 5, in protest against the federal government for failing to address the challenges caused by the removal of fuel subsidy. Recall that the NLC, TUC and their affiliate unions on August 2 protested in the Federal Capital Territory and several states, including Lagos, Abia, Plateau, Kaduna, Kano, Rivers, Zamfara, Katsina, Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Ebonyi, Enugu, Kwara, Ogun, Imo, Ondo and Edo over anti-people policies of the President Bola Tinubu administration. The NLC protest followed a 7-day ultimatum issued to the federal government demanding the immediate reversal of all anti-poor policies of the federal government, including the recent hike in premium motor spirit price increase in public school fees, the release of the 8-month withheld salary of university lecturers and workers. The union also demanded an upward review of the minimum wage from 30,000 naira to 200,000 naira, saying that since the president's subsidy is gone in the inauguration speech of May 29, 2023, the peace of mind of Nigerians had gone as well. On security matters now, the Nigerian Air Force has conducted air strikes near Arena Woje, situated in the southern Tobuns near Lake Chad, which is being used as a hideout by terrorists in Borno, resulting in the elimination of many terrorists, while their cohorts sustained several injuries. Air strikes were also conducted by NAF aircraft against militants and oil thieves in efforts at denying criminals the freedom to cause mayhem and havoc against innocent civilians, the environment and economy. Director of NAF Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Edward Gabquet, while making this known, said credible intelligence had further revealed that the location, Arena Wojay, remained active with some other terrorists using the area to store their weapons and other logistics. Away from that, Lagos State government has paid 2 billion naira as pension arrears to another 644 retirees during its 101st retirement bond certificate presentation. The Director General of the Lagos State Pension Commission, Laspec Babalola Obilana, described the certificates as more than just financial rewards. Obilana also reiterated the government's commitment to paying the backlog of pension arrears. Back here, Kwabum State government has proposed a supplementary budget estimate of 150 billion naira, with recurrent expenditure put at 50.3 billion naira and capital expenditure pegged at 99.7 billion naira. The State Commissioner for Information, Ini Emomobong, announced this when he briefed Government House correspondents shortly after the State Executive Council meeting held at the State Echo Chambers Government House, Uyo, and presided over by the State Governor, Pastor Omo Eno. According to the Commissioner, the supplementary financial provision as presented by the State Commissioner for Finance, Dr. Linus Nkan, was premised on the need for the realignment of financial estimates with current realities, additional provisions for flood control and other statewide erosion control interventions, budgetary provisions for newly created ministries, budgetary provisions for the construction of model primary, secondary and technical schools, and the provision of resources for the activation of the lofty promises encapsulated in the Arise agenda.
Supplementary budget as presented by the Commissioner for Finance was totaling 150 billion, broken into recurrent 50 billion, 310 million, 140 million, 850, while capital took 99,689,859,150. A combination of both will give you 150 billion. When the Commissioner for Finance presented that, ESCO accepted, deliberated on it, made some amendments that may affect that value, and asked the Commissioner to effect those amendments and thereafter bring to His Excellency the Governor's attention and forward them to the House of Assembly. Supplementary budget as presented by...
Still to come in the news.
Oil prices
WTI crude breaks $85 on tightening supplies. Do stay with us.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTimes DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Uyai Anyeken on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on Channel 421 on StarTimes to catch all interviews, real stories, and how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian Police Force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian Police Force.
No, my Lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My Lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My Lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court, my Lord.
Is this adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord. These cases are in court, my Lord. I'm just reminding your Lordship.
My Lord, sorry, my Lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Many thanks for staying tuned. As we move on now to Africa, where Gabon's new strongman, General Brice Oligui Nguema, has blasted corruption among state contractors in a fiery address, telling business leaders they must commit to the development. The general, who overthrew Gabon's 55-year Bongo dynasty, is set to be sworn in as transitional president next week. On Thursday, he with Gabonese business leaders to a meeting where he lashed out against firms overbilling for their services. The speech was broadcast on state television. Meanwhile, opponents of the ousted regime had regularly accused contractors close to the government of massively overbilling on state contracts in return for kickbacks to high-ranking government officials. In a related development, the African Union has suspended Gabon's participation in all of its activities following Wednesday's military takeover, which it condemned. The decision followed a meeting of the bloc's Peace and Security Council, which was held yesterday. Earlier, the Gabonese junta said good faith in what it is calling transitional institutions after the removal of President Ali Bongo. Meanwhile, the main opposition alliance has urged the junta to discuss the best way forward. It added that Gabonese should be grateful that they had dethroned the Bongo dynasty, but called on the military to act responsibly.